You played really well today, champ.
Thanks, Dad. I think I'm getting better.
You definitely are.
A single father walked into the most expensive car dealership in the city on a Saturday afternoon, and his 9-year-old daughter had to tug his sleeve to remind him they were even inside. Nobody had come to greet them. He was wearing a plain gray t-shirt and dark jeans, the kind of clothes a man puts on when the morning belongs to a soccer game and the afternoon belongs to errands. His daughter, Ava, wore her cleats still, grass-stained at the toes, her hair in a lopsided ponytail she had done herself because her father was still learning. He carried no briefcase, no designer bag, nothing that announced the kind of net worth this showroom was designed to attract. He looked to the practiced and careless eye of the sales floor, like someone who had parked in the wrong lot. The cars around them were extraordinary, polished to a mirror finish, sticker prices that started at 6 figures and climbed without apology. The showroom lit with the soft precision of a place that has decided, in every detail of its design, which kind of person is meant to feel at home here. The man and his daughter walked slowly through the floor. He paused at a silver coupe near the center display and placed one hand on the hood with the quiet ease of someone who already knows exactly what he is looking at. Ava looked up at the salespeople. Not one of them moved. If you have ever walked into a room with your child and felt the two of you become invisible, this one is for you. Stay with us. Marcus Ellison had not planned to bring Ava today. The original plan had been simple. Drop her at her grandmother's after the soccer game, swing by his commercial property on Caldwell Avenue for a quick sight check, and head home. But Ava's grandmother had a migraine, and Ava, 7 months into her career as his co-pilot on weekend errands, had declared without drama that she was coming along. Marcus had looked at her in the rearview mirror, cleats, grass stains, that cheerful certainty, and said fine. She was 9 years old, and she moved through the world like it belonged to her, which Marcus had decided was the most important thing he could give her. Her mother had passed 3 years ago. Lymphoma, 18 months from diagnosis to the end, the kind of timeline that does not leave room for the gradual adjustments grief is supposed to allow. Marcus had been 41. Ava had been 6. He had spent the first year doing what you do when there is no other option, putting one foot in front of the other, keeping the lights on, keeping the schedule, making sure Ava saw him get back up every single morning. The second year, he had figured out the hair. The third year, he was almost good at it. He had built Ellison Capital the way he built most things, quietly, precisely, without announcing the scale of what he was doing until it was already done. Commercial real estate first, then hospitality, then a calculated move into luxury automotive retail that had begun 14 months ago with the acquisition of Meridian Auto Group, the dealership on Caldwell Avenue. He had restructured the leadership at the top, installed a new general manager, and left the day-to-day operation to settle while the transition found its footing. He had not yet made an unannounced visit. When Ava spotted the showroom from the car window, the glass facade, the gleaming machines visible from the street, she said, "Daddy, is that one of yours?" She had begun asking this about buildings in the last few months, with the matter-of-fact curiosity of a child learning the shape of her father's life. "It is," he said. "Can we go in?" He pulled into the lot without another word. They came through the glass doors together, Ava slightly ahead, her cleats quiet on the polished floor. The showroom opened up around them, warm light, chrome, the particular hush of a space that takes itself very seriously. There were 3 salespeople visible, a woman near the back attending to a couple browsing an SUV, a young man near the reception desk with his phone angled slightly downward in the practice way of someone checking it, while technically not checking it, and a senior salesman, older, sharp suit, the deliberate posture of someone who has learned to read a room, standing near the entrance to the finance corridor. That third man looked at Marcus and Ava when they entered. His gaze moved to Marcus's t-shirt, to Ava's grass-stained cleats. Then it returned to the middle distance, as if they were a conclusion he had already drawn and filed away. Marcus watched this happen and said nothing. He walked with Ava to the silver coupe on the center platform. He had reviewed the inventory reports before the acquisition. He knew this model well, knew its margin, knew how it had been positioned in the prospectus. He rested his hand on the hood and read the spec card in the small acrylic holder on the windshield. "It's pretty," Ava said. "It is," Marcus agreed. A minute passed, then 2, then 3. The couple near the SUV were being guided toward the finance corridor. The young man near reception had moved to the coffee station. The senior salesman, his name tag, Marcus would note later, read Vincent, had drifted toward a man who had just come through the door on the far side of the showroom. That man was wearing a blazer, pressed trousers, the quiet confidence of someone whose clothes are doing part of the work for him. Vincent reached him in under 30 seconds. Ava watched this. She was 9, but she was not unobservant. She said, in the honest, unfiltered way of a child who has not yet learned to leave certain observations unspoken, "How come nobody's helping us, Daddy?" Marcus looked down at her. "That's a good question," he said quietly. "Let's find out." He took her hand and walked to the reception desk. A young woman behind the counter looked up with the particular expression of someone who had made a decision before a word was spoken. Not rude, not aggressive, just the careful distance of a person who has learned to categorize quickly. "Can I help you?" The tone was courteous in structure and minimal in warmth. "I'd like to speak with your general manager," Marcus said. The recalibration was subtle. "Do you have an appointment?" "I don't," he said. "Tell him Marcus Ellison is here. He'll want to come out." She looked at him, at the gray t-shirt, at Ava in her soccer cleats, and Marcus watched her make a decision. "I'll see if he's available," she said, with an inflection that suggested she genuinely was not sure he would be. She turned slightly away and lifted the phone. Ava leaned against the counter beside her father and looked around the showroom with the frank, sweeping attention of a child cataloging everything. "Daddy," she said softly, "that man in the suit went to help that other man really fast." "I noticed," Marcus said. "Why didn't he come to us first? We were here first." Marcus looked at her, at the lopsided ponytail, at the grass stains, at the absolute, uncomplicated reasonableness of the question. "I don't know yet," he said, "but we're going to talk about it." The door behind the reception desk opened. Daniel Price, general manager of Meridian Auto Group, came out with the particular velocity of a man whose afternoon has just been reorganized by a single phone call. He was 43, efficient, the kind of person who moved through a space like he was already composing the action items. He had reviewed Marcus's file at acquisition. He recognized him in the time it takes for a face to confirm what a name has already announced, and his expression, in the 3 seconds between recognition and recovery, was one of the most honest things Marcus had seen all day. "Mr. Ellison." He extended his hand. His voice was steady, but only just. "I wasn't aware you were visiting today." "I know," Marcus said, and shook it. "Is there somewhere the three of us can talk?" The floor had gone quiet. Vincent, near the sports coupes, had stopped mid-sentence. The young woman at reception was motionless. The young man from the coffee station had returned and was standing with his cup frozen halfway to his mouth. "Of course," Daniel said. "Please." He led them through to his office, clean, well-organized, the space of a competent man. He gestured to a chair for Ava, and without being asked, produced a bottle of water and a notepad and pen from his desk drawer, which he set in front of her without comment. It was a small thing. Marcus noted it. Ava accepted the notepad with the gravity of a child who has been given a responsibility and immediately began drawing what appeared to be one of the cars from the showroom floor. Marcus sat across from Daniel and told him what had happened. Not with anger, not with theater. The same methodical, precise delivery his late wife had once called his report voice, the one that meant he was telling you the exact truth and expected the same in return. He described the 3 visible salespeople, the sequence of the 11 minutes. Vincent crossing the floor to the man in the blazer in under 30 seconds after standing still through everything Marcus and his daughter had done. The young woman who had looked up, evaluated, and looked away. Daniel listened without interruption. His expression moved through several stages and settled into the particular stillness of a man taking the full measure of something he had permitted to exist without quite naming it. "What happened on your floor today," Marcus said, "is not a training failure. Training failures are fixable in a week. What I watched today is a values failure. People making quick calculations about who is worth their time based on what they see, rather than who is standing in front of them. That requires something more sustained and more honest to correct. And it starts with the person running the floor understanding that it is a problem." Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then, I understand. Good, Marcus said. I want a written plan on my desk by the end of this week. What changes how you'll measure it and how you'll hold the floor accountable going forward. If you're the right person to build that culture here, I'll know from what you send me. If you're not, I'll need to know that too. He stood. One more thing. He set a business card on the desk. Plain, cream, nothing but a name and a number. The kind of card that is designed to communicate that the person handing it to you does not need it to do any work for them. The silver coupe on the center platform. I like to buy it. Full sticker, no negotiation. But I want the sale written up by whoever on your floor is first to make a genuine, unprompted effort to help the next person who walks in looking like they don't belong here. He looked at Ava. She had produced a remarkably accurate silver coupe on her notepad, with a small figure standing beside it that he suspected was meant to be him. Ready, Bug. She tore the drawing carefully from the notepad, folded it once, and tucked it into her jacket pocket. Ready, she said. They walked back out through the office door together. The showroom floor was silent as they crossed it. Vincent near the sports coupes, the young woman at reception, the young man with his coffee. All of them watching a man in a gray t-shirt and his daughter in grass-stained cleats walk through the center of the room that was, it turned out, entirely his. Marcus did not slow down. He stopped briefly at the silver coupe, just long enough for Ava to press one small hand to the hood the way she had seen him do earlier. Then they walked through the glass doors and back into the afternoon. He did not look back. Behind them, in the showroom, something had changed. Not in the architecture or the inventory or the price tags. In the understanding of everyone left standing on that floor, who now knew, with a clarity that would take time to fully absorb, exactly who had come in with his daughter and exactly what they had done. Or rather, what they had not done. 3 days later, Daniel Price submitted a 14-page floor review and cultural retraining plan to Marcus's office. It was specific, self-critical in the places that required it, and oriented entirely toward the question of how to build a culture rather than how to enforce a policy. It was the work of a man who had decided to be honest with himself about what had been built under his watch. Marcus read it twice and sent back a single reply. It said, "Good. Let's build it." 2 weeks after that, on a quiet Tuesday morning, a man came through the doors of Meridian Auto Group alone. He was in his 50s, work jacket, the slightly uncertain posture of someone who is not sure he is in the right place. He stopped just inside the entrance and looked around as if expecting to be told something. The salesperson who reached him was the same young woman who had looked up from her phone 2 weeks earlier, evaluated something, and turned back down. She crossed the floor before the man had taken a second step. "Good morning," she said. "Welcome in. Looking for something specific today, or still figuring that out? Either way, I'm here." The man looked at her for a moment with the expression of someone who came in prepared for a different conversation. "My son's getting his license next month," he said. "I want to get him something safe. I don't really know where to start." "That's the best reason to be here," she said. "Let's start with what matters most to you, and we'll work from there." They were walking before he'd said another word. In the far corner of the showroom, Daniel Price was watching. Not with anxiety. With the careful attention of a man learning what right actually looks like in practice rather than on paper. He pulled out his phone and sent a message to the contact in his directory, labeled M. Ellison. It said, "You want to see what's happening on the floor right now?" The reply came in under a minute. It said, "I already know. Keep going." Daniel put his phone away and kept watching. Marcus Ellison was not in the showroom. He was home, at the kitchen table, a Saturday morning, Ava across from him eating cereal and telling him at considerable length about a disagreement among her friends that he was doing his best to follow. He was not always certain he got these conversations right. He had learned, in 3 years of doing this alone, that the effort mattered more than the execution, that showing up consistently was more than half of it, and that a child who knows she has your full attention will eventually tell you everything you need to know. The silver coupe was parked in his garage now, delivered 2 days after his visit to Caldwell Avenue. He had not driven it yet. He would, but not today. Today he had cereal getting cold, a complicated situation involving recess seating arrangements that required his complete attention, and a daughter who was looking at him across the table the way she had looked at everything since she was very small, like she was absolutely certain he was exactly where he was supposed to be. He was. Some things you build with capital and strategy and 22 years of quiet, precise effort. And some things you build at a kitchen table on a Saturday morning, one conversation at a time, with a girl in a lopsided ponytail who has never once doubted that she was worth every bit of your time. Both matter. Both are the work. Both are how you leave the world better than you found it. If this story stayed with you, subscribe and stick around. We tell more stories like this one every single week. And drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? We read every one.